and a forum to learn and share your experience. Over to you, Toastmaster Aravinda.
Thank you, Toastmaster Free. Before I begin, I would like to just get a confirmation on the slide that I'm sharing, my video and my audio.
Yes, we can see your slide.
All of them in this. Great.
Yeah.
Timer, I will begin now. Dear Toastmasters and guests, I hope you've been having a good morning, because I have not. Once again, my retired parents are fighting this morning. Today's topic of discussion is, how well is the city serving us? According to my father, it's got one of the best transport systems. But according to my mother, it doesn't care about women at all. I said, hold on. I am the transport planner in this family and I am a woman. So I should be the authority on deciding this. So I decided I'm going to investigate this claim. On this, I let the cat out of the bag on a little secret. This is how transport planners understand what the city needs and how they plan for their projects. We ask 4 simple questions. Why is everyone traveling? How are they traveling? When are they traveling? And what is their expectation out of the city's transport system? Once you have answers to all of these questions, you will be able to plan the best system for your citizens. So I decided I will apply this on both my father and my mother. I first went to my father. I said, Appa, all through your life, why did you travel? He said, why else? To go to work. How do you think there's food on your table? I said, sure. Understood. So how did you travel? He said, of course, I would take my two-wheeler or car. And back when I was young, I used to take the bicycle. But when none of that was available, I would either take the bus or the train or the auto. It's once in a while, doesn't matter. But even when they are on strike, then I had to walk all the way to work. But given all of that, my father's favorite mode of travel was still his two-wheeler. So when did he travel? That he didn't have too much choice in. He had a 9-to-5 job like most other fathers in the city. So he had to travel in the morning between 8 and 10 in the morning, and in the evening to come back home between 6 and 8. And in the world of transport planners, we call these 2 periods as peak hours. And in normal colloquial terms, we know them as rush hours. So what is it that my father expected out of the city's transport system? He said, Kana, not too much, Pa. I just have to get to my destination in one piece. You just get me to my destination on time. I'm happy with that. Okay, great. My father is a very simple man with very simple demands. Now let me ask my mother what her experience was. I start again with the same questions. Amma, why did you travel? But the answer I got was, on which day? Of course, I traveled for work, but some days I had to drop you and your brother to school. Now I have to take your grandfather to the hospital. Every day I have to go shopping. And once in a month, I even had to go pay the bills. Which day are you asking about? When are you talking about? I said, okay, I get it. I said, in that case, how did you travel? You must have had the same options as Appa. She said, you wish. Remember, I am a typical Indian woman. Most of the Indian women don't know how to drive. So all the private vehicles are out of my options. I said, oh, so you had public transport. We have great public transport systems. She said, you wish. If I had to take children or old people along with me, you think I can do that on crowded buses and trains? Impossible. I had to take the auto, or I had to take share auto. Now, auto is too expensive to go very often. So whenever my mother traveled for herself, the choice she made was to travel by foot. And this reflects what most women in Indian cities do. So then I go to the question of, when did she travel? Once again, the typical Indian woman trope. Until you, your brother, and your father had left house, how could I leave? I had to get you all ready. And after you left home is when I could leave. And I had to come back home before you people came back. so that I could prepare dinner. I can't go early in the morning or late in the evening because it's unsafe to travel then. So I had to finish all my activities between 10 in the morning and 6 in the evening. That's the time transport planners call off peak. So ultimately, what was she expecting from the city? She wanted a city where she could get to everywhere through public transport, where it was safe to travel, and where she could complete all her work on a single trip. There it is, an innate difference in the way my father traveled and my mother traveled. And this is true, it continues to be true of the difference between the way men and women travel, even to this day, in a lot of our cities. And I have been saying Indian very frequently, but data reveals that this is true of cities all over the world. As a next step, I decided to check what is the city doing about it. In terms of connectivity, I realized our priority is to connect residential areas to employment zones. In terms of frequency, you would find the highest frequency of buses, trains, and even auto rickshaws during peak hours. And where are we putting our money? The first infrastructure that attracts investment is roads, road widening, flyovers for cars, two-wheelers. Next, it goes to metros or buses or local trains. And as a last afterthought, we take care of footpaths. For my father, it checked all the boxes. But my mother's travel was always shorter, much more local, no buses there. She always traveled during off-peak, very low frequency, had to wait for a long time. And her favorite mode of travel was walk, and then public transport, and the last was private vehicle. So on all three counts, the city was more or less failing her. Now, why do you think this was happening? Because for very, very long, transport planners, just like me, have been asking only four simple questions. Why people travel, how they travel, when, and what they expect out of the city. We have forgotten to ask a question: who is traveling? Now, that's a lesson I've learned for life. Now, a much bigger question: why am I boring all of you on a fine Saturday morning with this topic? That's because I believe that the first step in solving a problem is recognizing that there is one. And I'm hoping the more ears I get to hear this message, the more change we can create in the world. Thank you. Back to you, Toastmaster of the Day.
Thank you, Toastmaster Aravinda, for that.
Very to share her evaluation report. Over to you, Toastmaster Uma.
Thank you, Toastmaster Mohammed Riyaz. Toastmaster Aravinda. I love the way when you started, like, how many of you are having a great day, but I did not. That was one humorous way to start, and everyone, you definitely got everyone's attention right at that second when you said that. I love the way you started. And it was a beautiful presentation in line with the speech, and the transition was so cool. I should definitely get in touch with you in person, how you did that presentation. It was so nice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And your voice is so cool, calm, and composed. I think you have an innate ability to express anything in a cool and calm way. And the speech, the topic, what you have selected is definitely everyone can connect personally. And that was the trick you used, that strategy you used to make us get glued to the topic. We thoroughly enjoyed your entire presentation and the way you mentioned, and also I loved the way you ended with the punch. First, you need to know the problem to solve it. I love the way you ended it. But I have a couple of suggestions. I will not say an improvement, but a couple of suggestions which will make your speech even more flavorful, beautiful. One, when at the start of first few slides, later the transition was cool, but the first few slides, there was some abrupt breaks because you want to get in line with the presentation, the transition. I was able to see a smaller break. There is no problem. After you are seeing the pictures or after you're seeing the words, you can utter your speech. Or after uttering your speech, you can show the pictures in the slide. That will not be a problem. People will definitely love it. But there is no need for you to get tense that you have to be completely in line with the transition. So you can work on that. And second, you can concentrate on your emphasis and passes. You had beautiful passes where you give time for everyone to observe what you have said so far. but you can use some dramatic pauses here and there, which will help us to enjoy the speech even more good. Like when you said sure, sure, or when you like, how do you think? Of course. The other thing, how do you think? Pause, and of course by bus. You can say in that way. Or it's like all the private vehicles are out of my options. You can show your mother's anger or your mother's irritation, like all the private vehicles were out of my option. Those things will definitely show the emotions of the speaker, which will make us to understand the speech even more great. And one more, it is more like a suggestion where it will help us for the audience sake, like something like, since you have given a speech with the respect to the presentations of it, you can utilize all the options available in Zoom. Say, for example, in Zoom, while you're giving a PowerPoint presentation, you have an option like you can be showed in the screen along with the presentation while sharing. You can use that. But since you are using two different devices, I think you ruled out that option. In that case, you can request the Zoom master to spotlight you because your voice is coming in a different window. We were able to see the name, but not your face along with the presentation. So at that time, when you ask them to highlight you, we can enjoy your facial expressions along with the presentation. That will make us enjoy more. So these are all my suggestions, like check on your breaks, emphasis and passes, and try to utilize all the technical capabilities when you're using the PowerPoint presentation. So that I wish you all the very best, and over to Jinjan.